Assalamu alaikum and welcome to the Oasis Focus and Finance Show. I'm your host, Shafiq Morton. As always, it's great to be with you. Today we celebrate Women's Day. It has a massive heritage in South Africa. 60 years ago, 1956, on the 9th of August, 20,000 women marched to the Union buildings in Pretoria to protest the past laws. Some of the prominent personalities of that time were people like Helen Joseph, Amina Kachalia, Rahima Musa, Sophie Williams, and of course Lillian Ngoyi. And the saying that if you strike a woman, you strike a rock, that saying emanated from that March 1956, 60 years ago. In today's show, we're going to take a particular focus on women in our society, especially from a financial aspect. There are some unique characteristics that a woman will experience as she goes through her life cycles in terms of being an investor. But to help us understand all of this today are Ebrahim Rawoot from Oasis Advisory Services, and of course Jehan, who will join us later in the show. But Ebrahim, assalamu alaikum. Welcome to the show.
Shafiq, and how are you?
I'm good, thank you. Let's have a look at this whole scenario. Women, our nurturers, our caregivers, our mothers, our sisters, our aunts, our grandparents, they're everywhere in the most positive sense. But when one looks at the issue of finance, if you're a woman, is it different?
Well, thank you, Shafiq, and for asking that question. And first of all, happy Women's Day to all those special women in our lives, whether it is mothers, our wives, daughters, aunts. They're all role models at the end of the day.
Some people say they rule the world.
Well, they certainly do, and rightfully so. So they're certainly special in our lives, and certainly we would not be sitting here today if they weren't around. So, coming back to your question, money is very different for women as, what it is for men. Money itself, it's really got nothing to do with gender or any affiliation of that kind. But, it's how users are able to access it, and certainly make the most of it at the end of the day. So, in our previous discussions, we had quite a number of topical discussions around, young individual professionals that are saving, whether it is in their 20s and their 30s, and really speaking about that harmful effect of what inflation has on your investment. They call it the devaluing of one's wealth over a period in time. And of course, saving regularly is quite important. But the reality is that women, as you rightfully pointed out, they are the caregivers, they are the nurturers of one's house, of one's family unit. And this really comes into play during the lifetime and at different stages of one's life in order to be able to ensure you're having this financial security and well-being. Yes, times have changed, and roles have been changing where both men and women are now working, and they manage it through a period of being able to say, this is what we have set for ourselves, this is the goals that we want to achieve, and how we effectively manage it. But it's not very much a straight path for a female as what it is for a male, because there are certain events that takes place in a woman's life, and those are important decisions and events that women really need to be able to ensure they accommodate for in those circumstances. So if you look at some of those factors, and there's a number of factors, but I think there's three that we really need to highlight. The one is your income level, there's the maternity period that women go through, and then most importantly is the life expectancy of women, because today women are living longer, they are living healthier lifestyles. But let's talk about the first one, which is the income levels. And I think despite recent advances, women continue to earn lower salaries. If you look at the earnings gap between a male and a female, it probably ranges between 15 and 17%. Now remember, if you're earning 15 to 17% lower as an income, you're actually contributing lower towards your retirement savings. So your retirement savings pot effectively is not that attractive as what it is for a male. And if you do the calculations, a female probably has to work twice as hard, or she has to work 2 months more in order to come up to the same level as that of a male, and it's really not going to be the case. So really we need to be cognizant of the fact that income levels do have a negative impact on the end result, which is the ability to be able to retire comfortably. And then, if you look at the second point, which is maternity, and it's a very important period in one's life, in the life of any family, and I'll speak about myself and, the experiences that we went through. But generally, when a female does go on maternity leave, it's a reduction in income. Most cases, it's unpaid leave. And then, certain parents, whether it's a first-time mom, she wants to maybe take extended leave. So that also comes at the cost of it being unpaid. So if a mother decides that she's going to have 2 or 3 children, and you add up the numbers, it could easily work out to being maybe 2 years absent from contributing to any form of retirement savings, and the negative impact it has on the household because there is not that second income that's coming in. And these are things that we really need to be able to take into account. And then if you look at the other important factors, that women generally are living longer, they are living healthier lifestyles. And again, with that in mind, female now needs to ensure there's a bigger pool and a bigger pot in order to be able to carry her through those years. I mean, if you look at the mortality tables in South Africa, the average male will live till 59 years of age, whereas contrary to that, the female is going to live till 65 years of age. And we've seen, and I'm sure it's in your household as well, it certainly is prevalent and evident in my household, where people are living healthier lifestyles. We have better medical facilities available, and that means the pot that we're securing for ourselves needs to be a substantial pot in order to be able to carry us through those retirement years. So all these factors, are going to have a potential to influence the financial position of women, and would possibly result in a reduction in income, which is very unfortunate, and their retirement savings at the end of the day. So, as a whole, money is very different for women as what it is for men. But, it is how you put those into practice and how women have been able to ensure that that little bit does go a much longer way at the end of the day.
Valid points, Ebrahim. We're going to cross now to your colleague Jehan Ebrahim, who's going to tell us about some of the practical things that women confront in their everyday lives. So Jehan Ebrahim, assalamu alaikum, and welcome to the show.
Wa alaikum salam, Shafiq, and thank you for having me. I'd also like to wish our special and wonderful women a happy Women's Day for yesterday. I am very proud to be a young woman in this country and carry on the strong legacy of those who came before me.
Absolutely, Jehan, and of course that's exactly why we are talking about women in today's show. Jehan, I know that you focused on the fact why women should save and why they should invest for their future. But I think what would be interesting now is if you could take us through some practical cases that you've dealt with yourself, so that we can see exactly how it all unfolds.
Of course, Shafiq, I have a good example I'd like to share with you and the audience. Each case is unique and of course impacted by some of the cases Ebrahim mentioned. I will be unpacking this for you and our viewers to give you an overview of how this impacts your funds and savings. I have a client, let's call her Aisha Khan, and she's 26 years old, holds a BCom degree in marketing. She is originally from Johannesburg, now living and working in Cape Town. She has no dependents, she is currently sharing an apartment on rent with her cousin, and she is soon to be married. In terms of her financial situation, Aisha has no education loan as her parents funded her tertiary education with the savings they set aside for her, so Aisha was very fortunate. Aisha earns 22,000 Rand per month after tax, but it is cost to company. She contributes 12% per month towards a retirement annuity of her own, that's 2,640 Rand. She has medical aid, just hospital cover for now, at 912 Rand per month. Her contribution for rent, utilities, security, the cleaner and transport amounts to 11,000 Rand per month. Aisha contributes 1,500 Rand towards the household grocery bill, and that includes food, cleaning items and the like. That leaves Aisha with a disposable amount of 5,948 Rand. Fortunately, Aisha's parents taught her to save and expose her to savings plans from a young age. So when it came to opening her savings account, she came to Oasis and we unpacked a full plan for her. Currently, with her situation and contributions, we ensure that 3,500 Rand is put away into an Oasis investment account, which means she has 2,448 Rand to spend during the month. Fortunately, Aisha does not have car repayments to make as she inherited her mom's old car. But she does need to ensure she will have funds available for wear and tear if the car needs to be serviced. Aisha is a disciplined young career woman, and while she knows her family is available to assist her, she has been very good about being independent and so far managed to comfortably save for 2 years.
Okay, Ebrahim, Aisha Khan certainly sounds like a smart young woman. She seems to have her ducks in the proverbial row. But also, it appears as if she's been given a little bit of help from her parents. Now, what happens in the case of a young woman who hasn't been as fortunate? She now goes into the world. She's got debts to pay for her studies. She needs a car. Maybe she needs a place to stay. Where do we go from that point?
I think it's a very important question, Shafiq, and let me start off by highlighting that, when you start out your career, irrespective, whether you're male or whether you're female, you need to work within your means. Too many times we see people, go beyond that at a very early age in their career, and, they just can't get out of that position that they've actually found themselves in. So, it's very important that, Shafiq, we need to, before we engage in all those things, just sit back and say to myself, what do I actually need? Do I need that flashy car? No, I don't. I can buy a second-hand car. I can even use a hand-me-down from, your parents. If it works so well for them, it certainly is going to be able to work well for me. So there's a lot of things that we need to be able to understand. And by ensuring that we reduce all those nice to haves, we then start focusing on, what is very important, the ability to secure that nest egg for yourself that is going to count so much in your favor 30 years down the line. So in the case of Aisha, if she had, all these additional expenses, it really would not have been as straightforward, and she should really thank her parents for the ability to have been given that opportunity of an education that's already paid for. But in many cases, it's not really the case. So Shafiq, it's very important, we should not ignore these expenses. They are very important. But I think very importantly from our side is the ability to take care of them very quickly. Don't drag your heels and ensure that we carry this expense with us during our working career. Get rid of it as quickly as possible. Make that a priority for you. And then very importantly, Shafiq, speak to a financial advisor. He's going to place out a financial plan for you to be able to ensure that you are going to manage these expenses on ability and the assumption that it's a priority to get rid of, but at the same time not negatively impacting the end result, which is your retirement savings and how you're going to be able to ensure you retire comfortably at the end of the day.
Welcome back. You are watching an Oasis Focus on Finance Women's Day special, and before the break we had been discussing the plight of women on the financial landscape. We'd also spoken to Jehan Ebrahim about the case of Aisha Khan, a 26-year-old woman setting out in life. So let's return back to Jehan, who's going to tell us more about the life and times of Aisha Khan. Jehan?
Thank you, Shafiq. So the big question, where is Aisha heading? Next year, December, Aisha wants to get married. Her father and mother, as well as groom's parents, will be seeing to the wedding expenses. So once again, Aisha and her future husband are in a fortunate position. Once she gets married, she will need to move into a different apartment, but she will still need to contribute equally to the household income. Her future husband will also be moving to Cape Town, and he is in a position to transfer to a different branch within his company. He is earning about 5,000 Rand more than Aisha currently, as he has just completed his articles at his accounting firm. So they need to combine their income and make wise choices down the line. Aisha will be 28 years old. Her salary increased by 10% annually, so Aisha will earn about 26,620 Rand per month after tax. Remember, it is cost to company. She still contributes 12% per month towards a retirement annuity of her own. That's about 3,200 Rand. She has medical aid, 1,100 Rand per month. Her contribution for rent, the cleaner and transport amounts to 8,000 Rand per month. Note that she no longer sees to utility payments and security. Her husband will see to this. But Aisha now needs to contribute 3,000 Rand towards household grocery bills, which includes food, cleaning items and the like. That leaves Aisha with a disposable amount of 11,320 Rand, which is much more than she previously had. Of the funds available, she is planning to save 6,000 Rand into her savings account, 2,000 Rand towards a joint household emergency account, which leaves her with 3,320 Rand to spend during the month. Now there is a big focus on her own disposable savings, which she plans to contribute towards substantially. The reason for this is simple. Aisha knows that within a few years of getting married, she wants to start her family when she's about 30 years old. At around 30 years, Aisha will have approximately 250,000 Rand in disposable savings with compounded growth. Now she lives in Cape Town, her extended family is in Johannesburg, and therefore she will be spending at least a year to 2 years with her baby, as she does not want her child to be left in a creche until at least 2 years. What affects her once she resigns from a job for the 2 years she'll spend with her baby will be the loss of income to the household. Assuming her husband is able to facilitate the loss of income and he can manage the household expenses comfortably, see to their day-to-day needs and include Aisha and the baby as part of his medical aid insurance, they will be fine. But what will really count in Aisha's favor is her ability to keep contributing towards her retirement fund contributions on a monthly basis and increase it by 10% every year. Now, because Aisha has worked with a financial planner earlier in her career, she understands that her retirement savings, although a small contribution for now, has about 36 years to grow. If you keep contributing, you'll also benefit from compounded growth and something small now that will make a huge difference later on in life. Coming back to Aisha, she plans on having 2 children, so over her career lifetime, she'll stop working for about 48 months. So if she does not contribute towards her retirement savings, her end result would be very different. I'm going to hand over back to you in studio, Shafiq, for Ebrahim to run through the numbers for us.
And Jehan, thanks for sharing that with us. Ebrahim, over to you. I mean, what Jehan has described is not unusual, is it? I mean, this is what happens to a lot of people.
Definitely not unusual, Shafiq. And it's an everyday reality. Women today, they're facing these very decisions and, situations, and it's how they're able to manage it. We as women probably take a lot of these decisions upon ourselves, but at the same time, we also leave it to the spouse in order to be able to assist them. And as a single parent or as a single female, you're now having to make a lot of sacrifices in order to ensure that, you handle all these expenses. I don't want to, generalize, Shafiq, but, women have unique circumstances and, and it really comes with,
And nor are we being patriarchal when we're saying this. We're dealing with market and social realities here.
Definitely, and that's the reality of the situation. So, every situation, has its own differences, but it also has its own similarities. The important thing to remember is that women can become financially independent. Women can become financially secured. There's thousands of examples out there. But really, it's about putting a plan in place in order to be able to ensure that they themselves know where they are going. So, if you take the example of Aisha, which Jehan mentioned, taking off time from work, to look after her 2 kids, 48 months of no income. What is the impact that it's going to have on Aisha as an individual, and is she going to be able to ensure that she's made provisions for that? Women are probably so unique because they understand bringing up children, bringing up a family. They understand the blessings that it comes with. And, really for them, there's no monetary reward in order to be able to ensure what those blessings are. They just know what it's all about. So, Aisha has already shown this through, her decisions that she's taken and the position that she's taken in order to be able to ensure that there is going to be financial security. And, again, many women are already doing that. So it's not a unique example to Aisha. There's, again, a number of examples out there. So, in the case of Aisha, she's looking at her long-term savings. She's looking at making sure that there is a sustainable path for her to be able to allow for financial security at the end of the day. She wants to ensure that there's legacy that's created for herself so that one day when she's not there, her children will be able to benefit from that. So, and if it's not only her children, there's future generations to come, because, as parents, and we eventually become grandparents, we then start looking at, how can we ensure that those grandchildren are going to be taken care of. And this again is so evident in Aisha's example. She won't be able to do much of this, if she did not start saving early. Mm-hmm. So Aisha really took the opportunity to be able to do that at a very young age. And then, these little events that's taken place in her life, to be able to say, do I cash in my retirement savings? Do I stop making contributions? What the impact ultimately was going to be.
In fact, Jehan did mention Aisha having so-called timeouts in terms of contributions to pension and other funds. What happens if you pull the numbers?
Well, it's a very interesting scenario, and every one of them different, yet having a complete different end result. And if you look at the numbers, Shafiq, it actually is, quite startling to be able to see what impact it has on the end value, having only a break of maybe 2 years or maybe even 4 years. So, the first was, to ensure that, she continues contributing to her retirement fund without stopping, her contributions until retirement. The second scenario was, where she contributes to her RA, but then she stops it for a period of 48 months, where she's had her children. The third was where she pulled out her savings, at the beginning when she resigned to have a second child, and then start saving again after she goes back to work. So there's an example of a 30-year period, there's an example of a 28-year period, and then there's an example of a 26-year period. So if we look, at the three situations, and let me say, women are faced with these decisions on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis. But, let's look at what would have been the best decision for Aisha. So, I made a few assumptions. I said at the time of resigning, when she had her first child, Aisha had this lump sum pension of 254,000 Rand. Let's assume that, her investment was growing at roughly 8%. So let's assume we carry that number forward and we use, retirement date at 60. So you've got a scenario of 254,000 as an opening balance. And by the way, she says she's going to commit 4,500 Rand a month, every month from now till age of retirement. And we excluded, annual escalations on the contribution. So taking an opening balance of 254,000 Rand, contributing 4,500 Rand a month at an 8% return for only 2 years. The end result in 2 years is 403,605 Rand, and that's astronomical in such a very short period of time. But taking a second situation where, you take the opening balance, but this time you project it until age 60. So from age 30 to age 60, the end result, Shafiq, is 9,262,532 Rand. So what does it come back to? It comes back to that time value of money. Uninterrupted contributions, uninterrupted investment period, and the end result is quite substantial. Now, take the scenario where she says, well, I'm not going to contribute completely for 30 years. So I'm only going to contribute for 26 years because I'm taking 4 years off and I'm not contributing monthly. So the same scenario, 254,000 is my opening balance, but now 4,500 is only for 26 years. So you're contributing less capital, and the ultimate end result now only becomes 6,569,523 rand, and that's almost 2.8 million difference over a 30-year period, but having contributed 4 years less. Again, taking that same scenario where Aisha says, well, I've now resigned, I've got this pension fund of 254,000 rand, I'm going to cash it in. And what does she do? She takes that money to be able to use during her unemployed years in order to keep herself self-sufficient. But what is the negative impact to her savings? She's contributing 4,500 rand a month, but the end result now is 5,618,540 rand. So from 9 million as an end result to 6.5 million as an end result to the final scenario being 5.6 million, it's a substantial difference. The question now is, at age 60, does Aisha now reduce her standard and quality of life because there's less retirement savings? Or does she say, today, I'm 30 years of age, I'm going to commit every month to my contribution, and over time, I will be able to see the benefit at the end of the day.
Ebrahim, Rawoot, thanks a lot.
Thank you, Shafiq.
And that concludes this edition of the Oasis Focus and Finance Show, which was a Women's Day special. Thanks to our guests, Jehan Ebrahim and Ebrahim Rawoot. If you happen to be a woman viewer, remember that a financial plan can be organized for you. Should you wish to watch this or any of our other shows, you can log into the Oasis Crescent YouTube channel. Or alternatively, you can contact us at 0860 100 786 or contact info@oasiscrescent.com. From myself, Shafiq Morton, until next time, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.